contracts which were smaller contractors being involved. But the outcome is always rewarding. So I want to thank you for participating to us. The water underground, the electricity, the manholes, all these have to be moved and they cannot be ripped up and thrown away. So we need them and we rely on them. We have gone to tender, advertising main elements of the works, which is the 37 remaining kilometers. And we have evaluated those tenders. The tender we received range from, I think, $59 million to $89 million in value. And that type of swing is we normally do not expect, but that's what we have. And we have evaluated those tenders, and I must say, we did not end up with the lowest tenderer, because the lowest tenderer did not turn out to be the lowest tender that we have. When we evaluated and do our due diligence and call that low tenderer in, he turned out to be the highest tender sum that we had. Unfortunately, he has made a major error. So we ended up with Surrey Construction, which was the second lowest tender. So it's not by any magic one that we ended up with the same contractor we started out with. They were also very competitive, but not what we would have recognized as the lowest tender, but they were the most competitive. We have also negotiated that number which they had downwards. And we arrived at a number that was acceptable to us, acceptable to the contractor. And sometimes he screams a little bit more than normal. And they have done quite a bit of the surveys and turned those data back to us. And we are working with both water, and I must say, Mr. Paris has been our biggest headache of recent time, and we are ensuring that he become a part of the team, so he will become his own headache on this phase of the project. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Lee. There's been a change in our program, and we will now have an addition, which is a brief remarks by Minister Eugene Hamilton.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. I want to thank you to my colleague for throwing me in at the deep end. I say that to my colleague, Minister Liebert. Let me, Madam Chairperson, adopt your protocol, but indeed, I must acknowledge my colleagues in the Cabinet and the Parliament and also at the head table. So I acknowledge the presence of our esteemed Prime Minister, Dr. Timothy Sylvester Harris. I also acknowledge the presence of who I will call the man of the moment, the Honorable Ian Patches Liebert. Indeed, I acknowledge the presence of our senator, who I know is soon to be coronated differently, in Akila Byron, and of course, Mr. Martel Lee. Other distinguished ladies and gentlemen, including permanent secretaries in the audience, good afternoon to you. Good afternoon to you. Some time ago, at a PAM convention, Sir John Compton coined the phrase, building a country is like filling a bathtub with a teaspoon. And after years of filling the bathtub, a teaspoonful in that bathtub, when we provide scholarships to young people going to Taiwan and elsewhere to educate the people, it is part of building, of filling that bathtub with that teaspoon. When we introduce vessel monitoring systems to the fishermen to ensure that when they go out to sea, if there's any accident or incident that can be easily found, that is part of filling that bathtub with that teaspoon. When we develop a second cruise pier to grow our tourism industry, that is part of building and filling that bathtub. When we do that new mineral patches, that is part of filling that bathtub. And when we approach in universal health introduction this year, that is part of filling that bathtub. Today, as we enter the central part of the Green Valley community, and as we embark on the signing ceremony for local contractors to be engaged in completing the road, we are adding one more teaspoonful or tablespoonful of development to this nation. At this point in our history, therefore, I say we cannot allow some damn fool to come and kick it over. And so today, I indicate to my colleagues on my left,
Minister Akila, in due course. I also want to recognize the former Deputy Prime Minister and former representative of East Basseterre. I'm following in his footsteps in my level, Powell. My colleagues in industry, Director of Public Works, and all engineers. I see the contractors. So Kennedy Simmons for constructing that road on the southeastern peninsula. Do you remember that? Do you remember what he called it? He called it the road to nowhere.